Growing up for myself, it was definitely seen that, a daughter almost goes into the husband's family, potentially expected to maybe live as a joint family. Why would you need to learn about mortgages and property? See, that never entered my brain as a female, because for me, I was doing it as an investment to stand on my own 2 feet.
What do you think kept you going to get to that moment where you won The Apprentice, even though winning was irrelevant?
Focusing on the end goal. I forgot that there were people there that would probably very happily do me over in the boardroom if they got the chance. My end goal was to win every single week to get me to the end. I do my best and I focus. I decide what I want and I go for it.
What is this business? Are you allowed to talk about it? Are you okay to mention it, or do you still want to keep it a secret? Right, so from TV to here in our Romford office, we've got Harpreet Kaur. Everyone make some noise! You got the camera guy. Harps, how you doing, first of all?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for asking. I'm very well. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. We're really excited to have you here, actually. It's so weird. I watch The Apprentice every year. Now you're here in front of us talking to, I feel like, a bit starstruck.
You won't be in 5 minutes.
This is the quick intro. My name's Ash. This is
Raj.
And you yourself. Do you want to give a little, very, very brief intro on who you are?
Yeah, I'm Harpreet, or you can call me Harps if you like. I'm a businesswoman, I guess. I've been in business since 2015. I have a background in retail banking, and most people probably know my face from looking very bossy on BBC's The Apprentice from 2022.
So me and you have a bit of a deeper connection, don't we?
We do.
So if we can talk about that for a second. Raj, I'd like to share a story about how me and Harps first met.
Go for it.
What's the story? I can't remember.
So,
even Harps is on the edge of the seat. Let's hear it.
Don't know whether to keep this going and build up the pressure. No, I'm joking. So the first day that I met you, Harps, it was actually on the final day of my stag do. I'd like to say it was probably like not even part of the stag do. I just needed a day to recover before coming to the UK. Akshay was with me, who has been my best friend for the best part of 10 years. And obviously at that point of the relationship, you guys were just getting, I'd say you were early doors, right? And he was super excited. He said, Ash, Harps is coming to Portugal. I said, you guys do your thing. I just want to be in a bed somewhere recovering. And he felt really bad because you guys had organized, or he had organized a boat trip out to see dolphins. And he said, Ash, you got to come. I said, bro, I'm fine. I'm really okay. The last thing I want to do is be on in the ocean right now. Like, I'm trying to recover here. I'm trying to not feel sick on flat ground. But he insisted I come. I did come, and I was really excited about meeting you. And then long story short, the whole boat trip was a disaster because I was super seasick. Akshay was in the front of the boat trying to avoid throwing up as well. And you were completely fine.
Honestly, yeah, it was, I've just remembered it was me, you and Akshay on a romantic boat trip on mine and my husband now, our first kind of trip away. You were there.
Was that your first trip away together?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Amazing.
But technically it was me gate crashing your holiday. And just to clarify, I did not join you on any of the stag activities. I'm not a boy.
And you don't have to share those.
No, none of that is being shared. No.
But yeah, that was the first time I met you, and yeah, it seems like a very long time ago now.
So that's the first time we met, but I also want to talk about the first time Raj met you.
It's not the first time we're meeting either, actually.
Yeah, so I got to say, when Akshay messaged me and said, Ash, I'm trying to get this mortgage sorted. I'm struggling. Do you know anyone? And I said, yeah, actually, I know Raj, who we've known each other for donkey's years, and Raj has been doing this since I can remember. So I said, look, if there's someone you want to speak to, it is Raj. But you got to tell me, honestly, what was the experience like working with Raj?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not obviously the first time we've spoke. It is the first time we've met in person. But you obviously helped us with our mortgage. And honestly, it was that easy and simple. But usually people remember their house buying process like for traumatic reasons.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously like very difficult with documentation or whatever it is. But all I can remember is that it was so simple to communicate with you. You were always like available to answer any questions. I'm not gonna lie, it was mostly my husband that dealt with it. I stay out of that kind of thing, and I go shopping for all the home bits and bobs, you see.
Fair.
But from what I can remember, you're absolutely fantastic to deal with. So I just want to say thank you. 3 years later.
You're still welcome 3 years later. And I'm glad you had a good experience. It's crazy because I think the amount of calls we get from different people saying, oh, I was just speaking to someone and they were having a lot of trouble with their property buying experience, or they were stressed out because the mortgage wasn't coming through. And then I speak to them, and honestly speaking, I can't believe how much more difficult the process can be made. Now, obviously with yourself and Akshay, there was an extra layer of complication, not complication, but something to consider is you're self-employed.
Yeah.
So obviously the rules when getting a mortgage are completely different from self-employed to an employed individual. So we had to navigate those. But overall, I felt, you know, you guys were in a great position. You did everything. You guys were just as good as clients at that time, in the sense of sometimes I can only go as quick as you guys. So you have to give me paperwork, you have to answer questions. So I appreciate that. So the experience was good from my end. And I've changed the question around so you don't say anything else about how the experience was. No, but generally it was amazing. Thank you for trusting us with the mortgage, actually.
No, thank you. You know, you helped us secure our dream home, so I really appreciate that.
And on that, I remember when you were looking at buying this place, you looked at multiple other properties as well. And am I right in saying you looked at some properties that were outrageous and maybe out the budget just for fun?
We did.
Tell me a bit about that, because that actually seems like something a lot of other people should do as well. I think it's really good
So
for...
did you go in person to see these properties?
I wouldn't say that we properties plural, but we did go and see this one property way out of our budget at the time, because you've got a dream, don't you? And you've got a kind of, you know, what do we call it? Give yourself a vision for the future. So it's gone on the mood board. But yeah, I think when obviously me and my husband were looking for our first home, there's so many things that you want to look at, right? So yes, we wanted a home for now, but then you also kind of want a future plan. So typical me being a female, I like to push the budget. So we did look at lots and lots of different homes, and we did go and see this particular one all the way up in Leeds. And honestly, it was incredible. Yeah, it was a beautiful house. It probably wouldn't be for us for right now, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years. But we had lots of fun looking at properties, yeah.
Oh, well, I window shop on Rightmove most days. I've never done it in person, but I love looking at houses.
Yeah.
We talk about houses all day, we do property all day, and then I window shop on Rightmove in the evenings. That is life.
But there's an issue, because what happens then is, I always think, right, when you've found something and you've decided that's it, you can't look after that, because then you're just going to keep wanting more, more, more. So once I've made a decision, whatever it is that I'm buying, I will then refuse to shop any further, because then you're just constantly disappointed, right?
I guess. And have you always loved property, or was that later on just because you guys were looking specifically to buy a house, or is it something since a young age you've had an interest in?
So I've been brought up in a very kind of driven household from my dad's perspective. So I think when I was maybe 13, 14, our circumstances at home changed a little bit. So when I was 11, my dad moved us out from Birmingham all the way up to Leeds. And, you know, essentially bought his first business. So in Birmingham, he worked 2 jobs, but then, you know, bought a shop, you know, very like humble, but that control over his own income and I guess starting a business meant that he was able to make investments, for example, property. And I think traditionally, you know, people, property is often seen as a good investment. So yeah, I bought my first property when I was 21.
Wow.
Amazing.
I was working as a cashier for Barclays at the time. And I remember I saved every single penny from my first year of salary to save it for a deposit on an investment property. And then I've bought a few since then, but that was my first property buying experience. I wouldn't say it's because I was avidly passionate about property, but I think sometimes it was just something I understood at the time. I saw my dad doing it, and it was just the done thing back then. So yeah, that was when I first bought a house.
Besides your dad, who I guess was a brilliant role model for you at the time, did you see anyone in your friendship circle that was possibly just like you? Any young Punjabi or Asian women who were also trying to buy a property at that age?
No.
So rare.
Yeah.
21
maybe.
buying a house.
I think maybe nowadays not so much, because I think the benefit of today's world is that I think there's many pros and cons of social media, but one of the pros is you can educate yourself now. So if you don't have someone in your family or your friend circle that is into investing or whatever it is, you can just learn about it yourself. I think back then, social media wasn't a thing. And so I grew up in Birmingham, where it was very multicultural, everyone was Indian. And my parents moved us up north, obviously for a better life. But I was then the odd one out. So the town that we moved to, really small place, everyone was predominantly, white or Caucasian. So I was the odd one out. And I think in my friend circle or everyone that I knew, I would say I was probably the most ambitious, probably the most driven. And I think, again, from growing up in a traditional family, it wasn't so much seen that I would go off and do all these crazy things and set up a business. It was very much drilled into me that you need to work hard and secure a good job. Just like every other Indian girl or boy, you're told to go into finance or law, or medicine. So I went down the banking route. But never would I have dreamt that I would go and set up my own business or buy my own property, especially as like a unmarried traditional girl at that time. So yeah, I guess it was unheard of, but I think sometimes you don't reflect on these things until much later in life and think, hey, wow, that was pretty cool.
No, it is cool. I mean, what's really interesting and what stands out is obviously your dad was a massive inspiration in all the things you've done. And you had a really good role model there. So you had some good habits, you saved up, you saw your dad buy property, you bought property, but you also said there was no one else in your social circle, and it is quite rare. I think, especially in the Asian community, you are raised, as you said, to go into law or finance, be a doctor, etc. And I don't know if it's the norm nowadays, but you do, in my social circle, we all grew up thinking, you'd live with your parents, you get married, the girl would come and live with you. So you don't need to worry about buying property. We're going to be like a Bollywood movie and be in this happy family. And more, I'm speaking to particularly Asian couples who now want to move out, but they might be doing amazing in their career, except they've excelled at education, got all their A stars, they've got a degree, they're doing really well in life, but they are completely clueless when it comes to the mortgage side of things, because then their expectation was, we're just going to live in the family house. Is that something you're seeing now from what you've said with social media, being able to educate yourself, etc., that's no longer the norm? Or are you still finding in our community there should be more education around buying property and mortgages and owning your own home when you're not married, even as a woman? Because I've got a daughter and I hope she builds a massive portfolio and takes over the world. I want the best for her.
This is such an interesting point that you've raised. And I love this conversation because you're so right. And actually, traditionally, I think it's definitely changing. And actually, I think, let's say, South Asian culture here in the UK is changing more towards where it's not so much of a shock if a couple wants to stand on their own 2 feet, because I think everyone's slowly realizing that everyone needs their own space, and it's not a negative thing. But yeah, I mean, growing up for myself, it was definitely seen that, a daughter almost goes into the husband's family, and you're potentially expected to maybe live as a joint family, and it's almost like, oh, question mark if you're not. So, controversial opinion, as an ambitious female myself, that what you've just mentioned, that, oh, it's why would you need to learn about mortgages and property? See, that never entered my brain as a female, because for me, I was doing it as an investment to stand on my own 2 feet, because I want to make sure that I can always be independent, irrespective of, who I'm marrying or what my family is going to be like. Whereas I think maybe for a male, it could be different. And actually, thankfully, like I said, we have social media, and there's amazing things that even you guys are doing, like this podcast, to hopefully educate, our society. And there are lots of different things that you can look up online. But maybe there needs to be a little bit of not education, a little bit of coaxing with the elders, that actually sometimes it would be nice if they taught us a few of these things, and they taught their sons or daughters and said, look, regardless of what you're going to do in the future, even if the family setup is going to be where you all live together, which is lovely, by the way, and for a lot of families that works. but maybe they could be teaching, their children, okay, this is how mortgages work. This is how property works, whether you want to buy something for yourself and your partner in the future, or whether you want to go down the investment route. Because you're right, actually, a lot of our elders, they do have their own home that they expect maybe family to live in. But just like my dad, he also made his own investments. So I think sometimes maybe there's a trick that's getting missed a little bit there from our elders, is that, hey, teach us the skills that we need. Because you never know, one day you might just want to make an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get taught so many good things in our culture, in our communities, like a good work ethic, like getting good grades, etc. But I think that is a point that's missed. Personally, I'm going to obviously be in an industry, teach my children everything I know, and hopefully they'll take it on board. What lessons would you give to all the people? Because as well as being education, hopefully it's inspirational as well. Having someone like yourself to look up to for young, particularly South Asian women, girls, who may hear you bought a property at 21. I would love to know, what advice would you give to them?
Firstly, I do want to just note that I do feel that we are in a very privileged position, okay? So we are only able to sometimes do all these things or pursue these opportunities because of the hard work that our parents put in. We've got to remember that a lot of them have moved countries, or maybe their parents have moved countries to come here in the UK and settle down. There's no guide to parenting, and I'm sure if they reverse time, they would have loved to teach us all of these things. Maybe they didn't realize it at the time that they were bringing us up, because when they were getting brought up, there was never this thing of moving out or standing on your own 2 feet. Some of them were forced to do it to pursue a better life. So maybe it's not that they didn't want to teach us those skills and didn't want to sort of keep us like this. Maybe they just didn't know that it would be an eventuality one day. But in terms of lessons that I would like to teach, or would like to pass on to maybe younger girls or just younger people, is a great question. The biggest thing, and I know we've already touched on it, is educate yourself. There are so many tools, resources, platforms out there that if you're not learning every single day, you're not doing enough. And the reason I say that is because nobody is going to hand anything to you on a plate, okay? And if you want to get ahead in life, you have to make it happen. It doesn't matter what background you're from, where your family's come from, what opportunities you think are going to be handed to you by either your parents, society, where you live. At some point in your life, you are going to be the sole responsible person for shifting that needle in your life. And the sooner that you realize that, the faster that those opportunities and success will come to you. So, I think I have a very long way to go in terms of success and what I want to achieve in my life. But, thank you for recognizing that, yes, I did buy my first property at 21, but that's because I took responsibility for my own future early. I didn't know everything. And actually, if I went back, there's so many, I could have probably got a better mortgage rate, or I could have probably, invested in a different way, or maybe put half into property and half into starting a business a little bit earlier. And often I kick myself because I think, hang on, Harps. Yes, podcasts maybe weren't available at that time. I'm 34 now, so I don't know, 15 years ago. Podcasts weren't really a thing. Social media wasn't a thing. But I could have reached out and spoke to different mentors. So why just get advice from one person? Why are you not reaching out to lots of different voices and then forming your own opinion? And I think one of the worst things that you can do is take advice from one person or one source of inspiration and implement that, because what you want to do is gather lots and lots of different information and make the best informed decision for yourself based on your circumstances and your personality. Not everybody wants to invest. Not everybody wants to build, and that's also okay. And I think there's a lot of pressure nowadays to invest early or build a business, and it's all very glamorized. And actually, I think the better thing to do is really educate yourself, because then any decision that you make, you're comfortable with it, rather than being pressurized into something because someone else told you to.
No, that's really good. I like take responsibility
Yeah.
for your own future. and it is really glamorized, running a business, or the end result is always the bit that everyone watches. But there's so many struggles along the way. I mean, what would you say have been some of the most difficult ones you faced?
How long have you got?
Maybe the top one or two that
something
come to
that
mind
sticks out.
Yeah, that you found like a really difficult, hard time in business or property or whatever it might have been.
I think I'll like maybe bring up like motivation and balance. I think there is a misconception about achieving the right balance all the time in life. It's not something that I believe in, because I personally don't believe achieving the right balance is sustainable consistently over a long period of time. And what you've got to remember is that there are hundreds of factors that can attack you daily. So let's talk specifically about business. Anyone that's listening that runs a business will know that 95% of their time is spent firefighting. Okay, you will wake up with the best of intentions. You're going to want to do that morning routine, turn up to work at that certain time. You want to spend 80% of your time on growth activities and 20% on admin. You want to delegate everything that you don't want to do. It just doesn't work that way, because life takes over. And whether it's you're recruiting new staff and having to train them, that then, move on, whether it's a customer issue, whether it's a finance issue, and actually you're too busy focusing on how you're going to cover the bills, there is always something that's going to come in the way. You're then expected to come out of work and have the perfect balance of, nutrition, exercise. And again, there's all these different pressures that we see online. Or why don't we all work from home and work from the pool? But actually, it's so impossible to get that balance day in, day out. So I like to operate in like chapters and seasons, and that works much better for me. So, like I say, I'm 34 now. I wish I had that drive that I did in my 20s. I'm still very driven, but I had a lot more energy in my 20s. I could just get up and keep going, 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 and nothing could touch me. And sometimes I have to catch myself, because life is very different for me now. I'm in my 30s as a woman, and there are other priorities that I also have to manage. I'm now, for example, on social media doing great things like this. I'm married. I would love to start a family at some point. So instead of me beating myself up that actually I wish I had this drive and was able to, grind from morning to night, I understand that there is only a certain amount of energy that I can spend on this. And there's also a certain amount of energy that I'm going to have to spend on my health now, because now is where I'm realizing it really matters. So I think there's a massive misconception about achieving the right balance. I would say, don't worry about it. Do what feels good to you at this moment in time and make a decision. Are you honing in on your career, family, socializing, having fun, traveling? Because all of these things are fine. They're all okay. You would think no one's judging you, but you don't need to take anyone's judgment on board, because you're going to do what's right for you. If you enjoy slobbing out and watching Netflix every single night, and that makes you genuinely in your core happy, go for it, For some people, it doesn't, because they like to make progress. Not everyone's built the same. And I would say you have to do what works for you. Don't look at other people and keep comparing yourself. You need to know who you are and what you want out of life. And that takes time to realize.
What I'm finding really interesting about this conversation about young brown women in property is that they all have to go down that path at some point in life, because nowadays, if you're British Asian, you and your partner are most likely going to want to buy a house. Whereas back in the day, it probably was okay to just live with family and it worked. But now everyone wants their own independence, their own space, and we are thinking about it for the first time. But I still don't feel like there's enough energy in that direction. Like, I'd love for the needle to move and there be a female brown investor who's got 20, it's always the uncle who's got 20, 30 properties, hotels, but you never hear of the young brown girl who's going down that path, going down that route. You know, I'm spending my time flipping properties or whatever it might be, where it's always so male dominated, even in the finance side. It'll be lovely to just unpack that a bit more. So just going backwards a bit, when me and my wife were, when we were kind of looking at buying our own property, my wife's got straight A's at school and at university, you know, studied at a top university, but still not much knowledge around property because no one really taught her about that. But your home is, you know, is such a magical place. So I feel like being taught the other side of it, which might be a stumbling block, like stamp duty and all of these things about how much you actually need, is so important. Like when you were growing up, did you dream about having your own place with your husband?
I just dreamt of being a millionaire, to be honest. I think it's so important what you said. And actually, I don't think it's anybody's fault, okay? Because we've touched on parents maybe not educating us, but we also know why. You know, maybe it just wasn't in their kind of mindset at the time. But secondly, the issue that I have is we're not taught traditionally as part of the curriculum and as part of the education system. So when we go to school, we are taught about Henry the Fifth or Eighth and his eight wives, which is great because we need to know history and all of these, you know, all of these things that we're taught. I'm not saying that they're not valuable, but you've hit the nail on the head. Why do we not know about, you know, how much stamp duty might be, or how to calculate, you know, what does AER mean? What does APR mean? Is AER thing? Have I made that up?
It's fine, you're good.
Yeah. Exactly my point. So I've invested in quite a few properties and still, yes, there is a thing, annual equivalent rate, right? But these things should be at the top of our mind because actually these impact us significantly when you're borrowing money, when you're making an investment, or when you're making a decision as to whether something is affordable for you or not. And also ensuring that you are not paying like over the odds for something that actually you might be able to finance in a different way. So we're not taught these things from a very young age. They're not deemed as important as part of the school curriculum. So it's no one's fault that we get to this age where, you know, we're studying hard and getting straight A's, securing a fantastic job like I know that Krish has, and she's obviously very ambitious. But then when it comes to then securing a home, we're all clueless. So this goes back to my exact tip. You need to educate yourself because nobody's gonna voluntarily hand all the information to you. You need to learn all about these different things because they're very important. It can completely, like, almost make or break your financial future. And your home should be the most important decision that you ever make, right? It's so you're sleeping, eating, spending time socializing, and financial stress is actually one of the biggest burdens that can happen across any relationship. So whether that's with yourself and your partner, or whether that's between you as a couple and parents, why would you want financial stress to be a factor? So learn early, educate yourself, decide which direction you want to go in, whether that's career, whether that's business, whether that's an investment strategy, and start testing and trialing. I think there's a lot of pressure when you're young to pick a route forever. So people say, oh, what would you like to be when you're older? I don't have a bloody clue.
A millionaire.
A millionaire. How could a 16-year-old know what they want to do for the rest of their lives? I don't know. You know, it's taken me till now to figure out that actually I really enjoy X, Y, Z. But to put that onus on a young person, I think is very heavy. And actually, I like to say to people, just test things, trial it out, start a side hustle, see if you enjoy running your own business. One thing that I always say to young people that want to pursue business is go and get a job first. Not because I want you to be employed forever, but because you need to learn the social skills or the structure of a company so that you can implement that later in life. One of the reasons that I am successful, for example, in people management is because I was a retail bank manager first, and I had to manage people that were double my age at the age of 23. They all hated me. you know? So it's those skills that you can't get if you're just going to pursue and almost be very narrow-minded. When you're young, spread your wings a little bit, test and trial things out, and you can always change your mind. There's nothing wrong with having a career change at 40. There's nothing wrong with deciding to learn to invest in property at 50 years old. You know, age is just a number, and something that I always like to remember, we are constantly told that life is short. It's not. Life is actually very long. You have plenty of time. And I'm not saying that from a perspective of don't, live for today. We've got to have fun, enjoy yourself, and always remember that there is an end date, okay? We can't get away from the fact that all of us are not going to be here one day. So you have to make the most of it, but make the most of your time. But I don't like this pressure of running out of time, and especially for women as well, because we have a body clock. We're then pressured to have children or have a family by a certain age. Men don't have that pressure, but it can actually really panic you inside. And actually, if you start to remember the notion that life is long, I've got loads of time runs for me, I'm abundant in time, you're going to make more calm decisions, cool, calm and collected, and you're giving yourself the time to learn, test, and see what you enjoy.
Wow, what an answer.
I don't remember the question.
No, I loved where you went with that.
I don't care about the question. The answer was good enough.
Exactly. We're just sitting there comfortable on our sofa, just listening to you.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. But all right, now we're laughing. Let's have some fun.
Okay.
Big question, 100K in the bank. How are you investing that in property? Are you going to Southend on Sea to invest that? Are you going back up north? Are you going to Spain, Malaga, abroad? How are you investing that 100K?
You said this was fun. Great question. I have invested in property before. One thing I will say is, look, I'm not a financial expert, and I do think people have to be very careful and considered where they invest their money. So some people want to invest in property, some don't. If it was me and I had the choice to invest where in regards to property, I would probably say like a really busy city, something like, London, Central, because you've got that appreciation value. And one of the issues that I've found in the investments that I've made, not all of them good, by the way, I've made bad investments, is where you think it's going to appreciate in value. And when it comes to it 5-10 years later, it hasn't gone up enough to warrant all the kind of money that you've put into it sometimes, whether it's maintenance issues or whatever it is. So don't just look at an investment and think, wow, I'm getting such a cheap deal. Sometimes there's a reason as to why, and sometimes you do get what you pay for. So look at the wider picture. But if I had 100K and I could invest it anywhere, I have to say business, because I'm a businesswoman in and out.
Love that.
I personally would take the 100, invest it into a business that I'm really passionate about, the one that I'm working on now, and invest it into ads, marketing, make twice the amount back, and then put some to the side to invest in property and some elsewhere.
What is this business? Are you allowed to talk about it? Are you okay to mention it, or do you still want to keep it a secret?
I'll give you some details. How about that? We're not far off from, kind of announcing exactly what me and my husband have been working on. It's the first time we're, setting up a business together. I'm really enjoying actually working with my husband. So it's a new project that I think everyone will be very excited about. We're both really passionate about it. Everyone's kind of, so for anyone that's maybe viewing that doesn't know, I was on The Apprentice, so was my husband. We were competitors and we ended up getting married off the back of the show. So it's been really nice that we've had that a lot of support from the community. Everyone's seen our love story, and we've been working on a business that allows us to almost, I don't want to say give back, but enable people to also be happy in the way that we are. And that's what we're working on at the moment. We're not far from launching it. I think for us, it has been about making sure that what we offer to everybody is, rock solid, that, provides something different and unique. Because anyone can just sit there and think of a business idea, but it's about ensuring that you are giving value. And I'm really big on that, whether it's a podcast, whether it's something I put on my Instagram page, or whether it's a business. I think I've got to the age now where it's not just about business for me, isn't just about making money. It's about what am I actually giving back to society here? How am I impacting someone's life? But in terms of working with my husband, I actually really enjoy it. And the reason for that is we are both very different. His skills and what he brings to the table, like, I'm just sometimes mind blown, and I hope he feels the same way. We have very different complementary skills. So what I'm not good at, he is fantastic at. And I think some of my maybe people skills or just general kind of bringing things together skills, we complement each other on that. So feel like, yeah, at the moment it's going really well. Ask me again in 12 months.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to watch that with excitement. The business launch, not how working with your husband is in 12 months, the business. But no, what was really good there is you said you like running businesses where you give back, where there's a purpose. And I mean, as mortgage brokers, we arrange mortgages for people. And I guess the satisfaction for us is the moment where someone says to you, thank you so much. Here's a picture of us outside our house with our new keys. And that's amazing. But what we always try to do as a company, and the way we like to give back, is for every mortgage we arrange, for every picture we get of someone outside their beautiful house, we let them know that as well as helping them get their keys, think of another family, one where you got mum and dad, 3 kids in temporary housing in a hotel room with no cooking facilities. We provide a food parcel that will feed that family for a week through our charity partner, Smile. So as well as helping this young couple or whoever it is get their mortgage and their dream home, we're also helping people that really need help in the community. So what I'd like to ask you is, I know, especially my mum, when she sees someone who looks like her, a brown person on TV, she'll call us all downstairs, come down, there's someone on TV, you got to see. And we all get really excited. And it means a lot when you see someone on TV. Have you found the community has really taken to you and Akshay really well? And have you found that a lot of people have come to you and said, thank you for inspiring me to get into business. I didn't think it was possible. What has the reaction and feedback been from your perspective?
Honestly, unbelievable. I am so grateful and blessed, and I don't take, I do get messages, and I'll say this for a reason. It's not to blow my own trumpet. I do get messages quite regularly from young girls, and sometimes even, older men. I had a message from like a 40-year-old white guy messaging me saying he'd listened to one of my podcasts and it had really helped him. And for me, I don't take that lightly, because when I say I'm a people's person, I really, really enjoy seeing people thrive. I always want people to be the best version of themselves. And I simultaneously know from experience, it is not easy. Okay. Life is not easy. And you can go on Instagram and you will see lots of successful looking people, or people that look happy, or that have the perfect morning routine, or whatever it is. And you can very quickly start comparing yourself or feeling like, why me? Or maybe I'm not good enough. And it's not true. Everybody has their own battles. Everybody's dealing with something that you may not know about, or you may not ever know about. Okay. Because it's not your business to know every challenge that someone's going through. But I forgot the question.
No, I was just saying how much
messaging.
I think the community has benefited from seeing someone on TV in business and being really successful. So I just wanted to know what it was like from your perspective and the feedback you got, which sounds like it's been really positive.
And you were saying that how firsthand how difficult it is.
It's so difficult. So when I get that message of anybody saying, thank you, Harpreet, you've just allowed me to put something else into perspective, or thank you, I'm going to pursue that business idea, or thanks, I know how to position something to my parents now, or thank you, I don't feel so bad when I look in the mirror now. Honestly, even if I just get one of those messages, it completely makes my day. And I've even got goosebumps right now, which is really soppy. But because, like, why would we not want everyone to feel happy or to feel their best version? It actually makes me really sad when people are feeling down about themselves, because there's no reason to. You're trying your best, okay, given your circumstances, your situation. As long as you're doing that, you're always going to be okay. And as long as you're putting in 100%, fantastic. You will never look back and regret it. And I always remember this about The Apprentice, and because I mention it because a lot of people relate to me because they saw me go through that experience. Sometimes people say, oh, how did you feel when you won it? And it always takes me back to a very specific moment. I was sat in the boardroom on the final, and there's myself and the other finalist. And I didn't know I'd won at that point. All I knew was that I was in the final. And I just had this wave over me. Thankfully, it didn't make the edit, but I was in floods of tears and I had to leave the boardroom for a second because it really hit me that, Harps, you've come from a very rough town in Birmingham, growing up next door to a prison, going through all these different challenges that life has thrown at you. You watched this show growing up, and without anyone to kind of benchmark against, no one really in my immediate circle that was a female in business. I think I was the second person in my entire extended family to go to university, and you are sat here opposite Lord Sugar. It makes no difference whether you've won or not. So yes, it means a lot to me when I get support, because I know how it feels, and I feel exactly the same when I see anybody winning, whether they're brown, whether they're male or female. I just want everyone to win.
That's incredible.
Wow, honestly, that gave me a lump in my throat, because it was.
No,
I really felt the
yeah.
emotion there, because you're so right. Like, from where you started and what you achieved, like, already has been so amazing.
What I'd like to ask, just even though it's completely off topic, is when I was listening to that and you were saying everything you've been through and that moment, you know, and all the trials and tribulations, what do you think kept you going through all of that to get to that moment where you won The Apprentice, even though winning was irrelevant? Going through all the things you went through, what kept you driven? What kept you motivated? What kept you going?
Focusing on the end goal. So in life, there's always going to be noise, distractions, inner doubt, outside doubt, criticism, just life. Okay, so taking that example, I almost forgot that there were 10 cameras facing me at 4 a.m. in the morning. I forgot that there were people there that would probably very happily do me over in the boardroom if they got the chance. I decided to ignore all of that and hone in on the end goal. My end goal was to win every single week to get me to the end. And it was that focus that got me to the end. I'm under no illusion that, I don't even think I was the smartest person on the show. I'm not the, sharpest crayon in the box. I do my best and I focus. I decide what I want and I go for it. It doesn't mean that there isn't maybe people out there that are sometimes more qualified at what I do. And it always comes back to, you can sit at your laptop or your phone and you can do all the research that you want, but action is what's going to get you to end goal. So that's what kept me going, is because I knew what I wanted. I wanted to win. I wanted to prove to myself, Harps, actually, you can do this. And going back to, it didn't matter if I'd won or not. It didn't at that point, because I already knew that I'd done everything I possibly could. So if I didn't win, it wasn't meant to be for me. I'd already done my best, so I can't regret anything. So yeah, what will always keep you going in any situation is, what do you actually want? And if you give up, it sounds really harsh, maybe you didn't want it bad enough.
Wow. Do you want it bad enough? That is a question. Got to get a t-shirt that says that on there. Do you want it bad enough?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, carry on.
And I think the other t-shirt would be figure out what you want and just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So inspirational.
Something's always going to get in your way, and you can always make excuses. Not to say they're not valid. Okay? Things happen. Life is hard. We've acknowledged that. But you can never allow yourself to think that actually I've got it so much more tougher than so-and-so, and that's why they're successful and I'm not, because you do not know what they've been through. Some of us on this planet are maybe a little luckier sometimes, but you can't look at someone and think that they're lucky. You have to realize that they've worked hard to get to where they are. And that goes back to your earlier point, Raj, where people often see the end result and you assume that, wow, that person must have it so easy. You don't. What are you basing that assessment on? You don't know. You're just seeing a polished version. So always focus on yourself, on what improvements you can do. There's no point discussing others. Use it as inspiration.
No, you just, touched up on there as well. Like, the polished version is always out there for everyone to see online. That's what we all focus on. We want to present that best version of ourselves. And I just wanted to touch on one thing as well, where I'm seeing a bit more of you, where you're removing the filter and you might put up a post on Instagram and say, here's a non-aesthetic version of my breakfast and food. It might just be a picture of your table, and you're not really focusing on it looking amazing. But do you do that on purpose? Do you do that because you don't want to fool people into thinking everything's perfect, or like, what's the reason behind that?
Yeah, a little bit of both, actually. So I never aspired to be on social media. You know, when I applied for The Apprentice, I had like 3 pictures of my dog online. You know, I kind of forgot that it may result in some attention, because for me, it's genuinely purely about proving to myself, can you bag an investment and can you do what these other people do? Forgot that millions of people might watch it. And off the back of it, you know, I've had an amazing community and amazing support, which I'm always grateful for. And for a very long time, I didn't know what to post online because I'm not traditionally a content creator, you know, and hats off to anyone that's built a community and a following without going on a TV show. You know, I almost automatically got this following, and it's luckily been growing since then. But for a very long time, I didn't really know what to post. One, because I think growing up, I've always wanted to be polished, perfect. You know, we always want to show up as the best version of yourself. And I feel like a lot of influencers and content creators get a lot of slack for not showing the bad bits. But hey, they didn't sign up for that. They're showing what they want to show on their page. If you don't like it, don't follow them, okay? You don't go outside of the house telling everyone the bad parts of your life or the trials and tribulations on a daily basis. Someone asks you if you're okay, you say you're fine. So, yes, I think there's 2 parts of it, but for me, I think around 6 months ago, I was really stuck and thought, hang on, I haven't really got these perfect pictures to show because life isn't perfect. And I very quickly realized that actually people just want to see the real you, the authentic person, because if they can relate and see that actually we're all the same, no one's superior, no one has a perfect life, then it might inspire them that actually she's just like me, and if she's done this, I would love to do that too. So I just try and just maybe post again what I think people will take value from, because I feel like these are the messages that I would have liked to hear growing up.
Amazing.
Hard truths with hearts. I love it.
Yes, brilliant. We're coming out with all the puns and the lines today.
I'm very quotey.
No, it's good. It's good. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and my leg is cramping. Ooh, right, Harbs, I know you're a busy woman, so we're going to let you crack on. But thank you so much for coming here today to our office in Romford. I think Raj made a point about, let's not go and hire out a studio in London. Why was that, Raj?
I didn't want to spend the money. No, honestly speaking, this is base camp for us, and appreciate you making the journey down. And we were more focused on just getting to know your thoughts on everything we do, property, finance, and clearly life as well. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me and, you know, giving me the honor of just, I guess, sharing what I have to say, or hopefully it's valuable to someone listening. And great decision to film it here, because in life you've got to be resourceful. You've got to save those pennies where you can, and, you know, make the most of whatever you can get out of whatever you already have. It can just accelerate you so much further. It's very easy to just spend. But if you can be resourceful as much as you can, it can accelerate you. And the office is lovely. I've had a great time.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you comment, like, share, subscribe, do all of the things, because all of the support means a lot, and it means that Lending Choice can continue delivering amazing podcasts for you. Thank you.